welcome. My name is Kevin Floyd. I'm the market general manager for the Central Florida market for Pepsi. And as the presenting sponsor tonight, would like to welcome you to the 7th annual Black History Mixer. So thank you and welcome. So tonight we have the pleasure of being able to witness a fireside chat with our local ladder builders in this community. And to help moderate this event, we have the Chief Ladder Builder, Vice Admiral Brewer. Vice Admiral Brewer is a local ladder builder and a graduate from Orlando's own Jones High School, and I want to welcome him with a warm round of applause to bring up his local ladder builders to talk about what we can do as a community then and now to progress forward. So thank you, Vice Admiral.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, good evening. I'm dropping my phone here. I am going to introduce 3 people with whom I have a fairly strong connection. Let's put it like this. We all grew up in the same square block at about the same time. I'm the oldest, so I get to talk first. Okay. But anyway, so this is somewhat of a phenomenal story when you look at the bios that you see on your sheet. Now think about this. We grew up during segregation when it was pretty rough. I call it the crucible of segregation. Yet we emerged. So how did that happen? Is what we're going to talk about tonight. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to bring up my neighbor across the street, Dr. Portia Maltby. Come on up, Portia. Portia is the world's leading ethnomusicologist. And we're going to talk a little bit more about her and her accomplishments here in a minute. I'm going to have her kind of talk about it. And next I'm going to bring up Belvin Perry, Judge Belvin Perry. Come on up. For those of y'all who are not aware, Judge Perry, how many of y'all saw the Casey Anthony case, okay? But more importantly, he is, Judge Perry just, you know how it is with folks when you know, called me up and said, David, I need you on the board of trustees for Bethune-Cookman. He's the chair of the board of trustees for Bethune-Cookman. Of course, he's been a judge in the area for many, many years. We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. And then I'm going to bring up Ronald Rogers. Ronald Rogers is probably the most connected man in Orlando. Chair of the Citrus Club. He called me up and said, David, I want you on the board for the Orange County Research and Development Agency. I said, I got that, Ron. And then Ron said, I want you in 100 Black Men. I got that, Ron. So he is the most connected man in Orlando. Come on up, Ron. Okay. So when you look at the bios, I guess the question is, how did this happen? How in one square block did all of this success emerge? And so I'm going to kind of hand that off because we kind of sat around at Oli's the other day and talked about this. As to how that happened. Because, you know, Judge Perry is just a phenomenal human being. And I'm not saying that because we grew up together. I'm just saying that because I've known him so long. And his father was one of the first police officers in Orlando. And if you go over to Washington Shores right now, there's a statue of Belvin Perry Sr. along with Officer Jones over there. So Belvin, explain to us how you emerged.
It was quite simple. There was a Mildred Brewer. There was a Ruth Rogers. There was a Nelson Pender. There was a Dolores Williams. There was a Wilbur Bulldog Gary. To make a long story short, it was the community in which we were blessed to be born in and to be groomed and nurtured, not only by our families, but by our outside families. That was the secret sauce, the ingredient that nurtured us and helped us grow and be a part of that great ladder, the Washington Shores community.
Okay, Portia, explain to them how you became the world's leading ethnomusicologist and how you used to keep us up in the morning at 5 o'clock.
Yes, yes. This goes back to Bevin's comment about community. Our community was so tight-knit to the point that they didn't mind my mother waking me up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning from age 5 through, I think about maybe 7, maybe 8. And at that point, I started waking myself up. It became habit at 5:30. But the point is, 5:30 in the morning, out on Clear Lake, Washington Shores, no air conditioning at the time. I'm at the piano, and everybody is waking up too. The big joke today when I see my neighbors is, I'll never forget hearing that piano at 5:30 in the morning. You know, we really didn't mind because through your playing this music, we became appreciative of classical music. I started taking piano at 5. I wasn't waking them up at age 5 because I'm still learning the little notes and whatever. But by the time I am in junior high school, I'm playing pretty advanced repertoire, Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, and Rachmaninoff, and so everybody is waking up. But nobody complained. That's the blessing. No one complained about my, these sounds coming across the neighborhood. They could probably hear them across history, but certainly my next door neighbors, they remind me today. But they laugh and say, we appreciate it now because I understood. I think the other key point is that was encouragement. And ironically, when I left Orlando, I'm assuming all the other communities had functioned the same way in other cities. And when I start talking about my experience in growing up in Orlando, being mentored, having lots of opportunities, teacher was the choir director at Jones High School, and whenever the choir was well known even then, and performed at many community functions downtown. And whenever the choir performed, she took me along to feature me as a pianist, doing a solo. So I'm learning how to perform in front of a crowd, outside of the church. I was always doing something in the church. But that exposure and that support. And that support even continued. I'm not going to take it up long because I know you're going to come back, but while I'm on this trail.
We're going to get back to some of that, but keep going.
Okay, I was going to say it continued to show the connection of a segregated community, how it never died, how we were always home girl, home boy, and going to come back and be examples of what you can be coming through this segregated all-black high school. And even when I went away, my senior recital in my college, the Moderneers and a couple other groups sponsored me to come back and present my senior recital of classical music in Orlando. And the whole community came. It was so amazing. That support never died down. But what was significant about that is that those who had not been exposed to classical music brought their kids. They wanted their kids to see another Jones High graduate who now is going to be a concert pianist, which was my goal at that time. Again, it's community support.
Okay, Ron, let's talk about you. I mean, there's no human being in Orlando that has as many connections as Ron Rogers. And I say that because as one of the founders of 100 Black Men of Greater Orlando, when we talk about the number of scholarships that we have given and the amount of money we have raised $1.5 million so far. And that is Ron Rogers. So Ron, explain to us how you
do know that it has been a joy growing up here in Orlando. A lot of people ask me, they say, well, Ron, where are you from? I said, Orlando. Then they said, well, we know you live here now, but where are you from? I said, I'm from Orlando. Then again, see, when we came along, would you believe we had summer jobs laying irrigation pipe for them to build that big building up there? So you know how long we lasted in that 98 to 100 degree weather? 1 week. And I never will forget when we got our first little paycheck. I said, Junior, I really don't want to do this anymore. And I thought he was going to tell me, you got to stick it out. He says, I was just waiting on you. So we left. Nelson Pender had a jobs program for students. I got a job at the Orange County Planning Department. And I think, Belvin, where did you leave and go to work when we left there?
I don't remember, Ron, but I know I didn't want to lay any more pipes.
And shortly thereafter from there, I went to FAMU and Junior went to Tuskegee. So the rest is history from there. And we all knew Portia because Portia was bad. See, when I say bad, I hope y'all understand what I mean by bad. Now, she could take that 88 and work that 88 like nobody's business. Now, later on, she's going to tell you some of the things that she did later on in life after learning to negotiate that 88. Now, she's not going to tell you. I'm damn sure going to tell you, okay? So you don't have to worry about that. And then there was David Lawrence Brewer III. And growing up, his name was David III. So what we had to do was we had to go to Sly Boulevard and see David Brewer, Dexter Price, and Gerald Mitchell off to college. I mean, that's just how the community was. We had to pack up the car and go to the train station and see them off. Now, it wasn't 10 people out there. The whole community was there. I mean, that was really, really something to look back on. And, you know, like everybody's family was motivated to do well. Now, they were older than me, so what did I look like not going to school? I wanted somebody to come and see me off too. So I set sail. I said, I've got to be like them. Now, Belvin, Portia, and I were in the band at Jones High. And if you're from around here, you know that was really, really big, being in Chief Wilson's band. And we traveled everywhere. And when I look across the audience, I see people like Jimmy Williams sitting out there quiet, but Jimmy was somebody that was around as a community builder. Everybody in here were community builders. So David Brewer, I have to say this. Now, he's very, very quiet, very, very humble guy. But David Brewer retired. I never will forget. He told me, he said, I'm in the ROTC at Prairie View. First HBCU with Navy ROTC. And he said, I got to give Uncle Sam 4 years. And as soon as those 4 years are up, I'll be home. David Brewer came home 36 years later. But when he came home, David Brewer retired as the highest ranking African American in the United States Navy. Worldwide. Nobody else at the time he retired had a higher rank than Vice Admiral Brewer. Now, 3 stars. Now, his class, they will always remember him because David never lost, even though he gained worldwide attention, but he never lost who he was to this community, who he was to Jones High School. They had the class reunion. David Brewer was the commander of one of them big ships, big old giant ships. So, you know, you couldn't come in here with a ship. You couldn't come to Jacksonville, so he carried his ship to Fort Lauderdale. And they had their Jones High School class reunion on board ship down in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. So that's why I'm proud to be up here with everybody. And when you find out about this lady, you'll understand why.
David, let me
Okay.
jump in a moment to
Okay,
expand
all
on
right. I'm just here.
Ronnie's. Okay. No.
And that's all you're
No,
supposed to
this-
be is
now
here.
this-
Now you see,
No,
this is like herding cats, but they keep going.
No. Now, this is an extension of what Ronnie just said. And that is, it goes back to my comment about community support, even after you leave. So when David transferred ships, then a busload of people came from Orlando to wherever he was, I think it was in Virginia, to watch that ceremony. So that support remained. I guess that's my point. So the community never forgot you. You never forgot the community. And the community wanted others to see what you could actually do, what you could achieve, regardless of circumstance. And that continues through today, through his work with the Jones High School Foundation, in which I want to take a moment here to encourage you to give to this foundation, because what he's doing with the foundation is providing opportunities for students whose circumstances are really dire in some cases, some of these kids. So we want them to have the same opportunities that we had growing up, giving back to the community, because we got so much out of this community. From Jones High, the teachers, our classmates, they were always there for us. So it didn't matter if we went away for 40 years in my case, and coming back, I never lost a beat with my class. I was not a stranger. They were not a stranger to me. I was not a stranger to them. I was not a stranger to my community. I'm seeing people here today, and we don't miss a beat. Like I saw Janice and Deborah, a sister, and it's like, wow, we haven't really interacted for a long time, but there was no distance between us.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, because we were family, if you will. And if there's a common denominator here, and I always tell people, as much as you want to emphasize academics, we were all music folks. I was in the choir from 7th grade until 12th grade, and the teacher that Portia is talking about was our choir director. That was Leslie Brayboy Weaver. And that tradition, starting back in the late 50s and early 60s, has continued today. I can finally get some sleep because the choir is going back to Carnegie Hall at 6:30 in the morning, then we had to raise $50,000 to send them there. And people say, well, why do y'all work so hard? I say, because we have to lay the groundwork for the future, okay? And these kids are poor. 100% free and reduced lunch, that's poor. We have 40 kids on an average day that are homeless at Jones High School. We have one in our 100 Black Men program. We were sending him to Princeton Review to get his SAT prep. Car broke down. He calls, guess who he called? He didn't call anybody else. He called me. I had to get him an Uber so he could get to and from there. And we're going to get to Judge Perry here because I got a call from him. He said, David, I need some help. I said, where? Bethune-Cookman. And he is the guy who, I mean, tell you, I'm just amazed, frankly speaking, just amazed at the influence that Belvin Perry has in the state of Florida. It is amazing, his influence. And so Belvin, let's talk about that for a minute, because you've been Chief Justice for this and judge for that, and you've been president of so many organizations. So let's talk about that. You know, what did your daddy, for example, and your parents instill in you? Because you got successful siblings too, by the way. And that's another thing. We have successful siblings. My classmate, who is Ron Rogers' older sister, I don't want to say old, Janice, but you're the same age, so, is Dr. Janice Choice, okay? Her daughter is Dr. Jerusia Choice. So there's a legacy here, okay? And Ruth Rogers left a legacy in our community. And Ruth Rogers and my mother were founders of Jack and Jill here in Orlando, okay? And so that was a legacy. But let's get back to Belvin. The bottom line is Belvin is, you know, his sister was the principal at Jones High School. I mean, what was it? I mean, how did that happen? You know, how did your parents bring you to this point?
You know, David, I look back, and it started at home, and it started at the church. And I can remember the days that my mom and dad would make sure that we were at Sunday school. And I was touched by Arthur Pappy Kennedy, Paul C. Perkins, Willie J. Gruden, and not only at church, but all around. I remember going to see Mr. Mosby at the Cleaners when I was a kid, and he would jack me up when he saw me doing something that was inappropriate. And it was those institutions that taught you the value of connections, taught you the value of giving your word and keeping your word. And I remember when I came back to Orlando, and I had graduated from Tuskegee, and I graduated early in my master's, and I was looking for something to do. And if you lived in the Perry household, you had to work. Here I am with a master's degree, and I'm at the Howard Johnson's as a bellman because my dad was not going to let me sit at home. And there was a gentleman that's here today by the name of Paul Sneed Jr. Paul Sneed came down to the Howard Johnsons and rescued me. Gave me a job until I went to law school, and every summer, when I came home from law school, he had a job for me.
Stand up,
That's
Paul.
what you
Stand up, Paul.
Paul stand up.
Paul.
When I was a wet, young assistant state attorney and didn't know my way to the courtroom or to the bathroom, I had the pleasure of working before a judge by the name of Emerson R. Thompson, Jr., who's here today. And you know what? I learned because he made me dot every I and cross every T. He cut me no slack. And at the end of each trial, he would give me his notes, pointing out what I did well and what I screwed up on. And that was the most important thing. And that's when I learned the value of people helping people. James W. Chief Wilson, who taught not practice, but perfect practice. Makes perfect. And those are the examples that we got growing up here. And the lesson is this: we have to help each other. You know, I often wonder what would have happened to my legal career if I had not been assigned to Emerson R. Thompson. People have to build bridges. And see, a lot of people forget that Emerson R. Thompson was the first African-American chief judge in the Ninth Judicial Circuit. He said, Judge Thompson, stand up.
Stand up, Emerson.
Stand up.
Right.
See, that's what I call a trailblazer, a pioneer that prepares others. But for him going in there and doing the great job that he did, it opened the door for me. Because when we got 65 judges, you know how many judges were that looked like us? The most we've ever had was 5. I want you to think of this. You got 65 judges, and all 65 of them vote for the chief judge. And only 5, and most of the time it was down to 3, looked like anybody in this room of ebony hue. So you have to help each other. You know, I can go on for days, and I'm not, about individuals in this community that made an impact and reached out and help someone and open a door for someone. And that's the ladder that we must continue to build upon.
I think, you know, one of the things that, yeah, give him a hand. One of the things that, you know, one of my philosophies is that there are 2 kinds of leaders. There is a ladder climber and a ladder builder. Now, I've experienced a lot of ladder climbers in my life. I told a story at the MLK about a ladder climber when I was in the Navy. He was a senior enlisted advisor for us when I was executive officer of my first ship. He was all about himself, all about himself. And as I said, my dad used to say, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. If you don't build strong steps as you're going up that ladder, which means strong people, and you're going to slip. Everybody slips. Everybody's going to slip. But if you don't build strong steps as you go up, when you get to the top of that ladder and you slip, you're going to fall all the way down. And what happened was he screwed over one of our sailors, sold him a lemon car. Wasn't anything we could do about it because it was an as-is contract. When he left us, he went, and sure enough, he got to the top of the ladder, got promoted to E9, which is like gods in the military. And he screwed up, sexual harassment. Called over, wanted a good word from me and the captain. We said, hell no. He was busted after 30 years of service from E9 to E3 and given a bad conduct discharge. That's what happens to ladder climbers. And so ladder builders build strong ladders as you're going up. I'll never forget, because my sailors had so much confidence in me. To my senior enlisted advisor, I was all that. I mean, I was the #1 CO. I was kicking butt. I had about 2 weeks to go in my command. I was just all that. I was feeling it, smelling myself. Okay? So I'm going back and forth, showing out, trying to get my ship ready for the new commanding officer, and my senior enlisted advisor came up to me. He said, let me tell you something, Captain. He says, you've had a great run. You're doing a dangerous maneuver here. I know you think you all that, and I believe you, but you ain't all that now. You need to get the hell out of here and go back in the port and leave this command, you know, on top. And I looked at him. Now, if I was a ladder climber, I'd have told him, like, you know, somebody I know, I ain't going to get into no politics tonight, and wouldn't have listened to him. But I listened, because he was one of those steps that I built. Of course, he went on to bigger and better things as well. So what I'm saying here is this, that what you're looking at on this stage are ladder builders, okay? Ladder builder Ron Perry, to be honest with you, Bethune-Cookman would be in trouble right now. He is a strong ladder. I joined him on that ladder. And we will save Bethune. Don't worry about it. Don't get it twisted. Okay, we're going to save Bethune. Okay? Is the chair of the Board of Trustees for Bethune. And Portia, I want you to talk about something that is just phenomenal. I'll reach down under your bag there. Portia Mosby has written a book that is listed as one by African American women all time. We're talking about on the same list as The Color Purple, on the same list as Becoming, on the same list as The Bluest Eye. So Portia, explain what that book is. Bring it up for, okay. You got it? You want me to get it? I'll get it. I'll get it. You don't want to know how much they cost.
Now this is called African American Music and Introduction, and that's the one that he's
That's on the
referring
top
to.
100.
And this came out later, just actually a couple of years ago, Issues in African American Music. This is more of advanced. It's used a lot in graduate seminars at universities, etc. But I want to say my interest, just for a bit of a background, is that growing up in this community and having exposure to a wide range of musical traditions, meaning even though I studied classical music, but I had an older brother who played jazz, R&B. I heard all kinds of music, and then of course in churches, gospel music and other forms of African American religious music. So I grew up in a dual musical culture. Loved listening to sundown, sun up, sundown radio, and the black radio, broadcasting out of
WKOB.
WKOB, and hearing
OKB. Yeah.
WOKB, hearing everything. So my point is I grew up with a diverse musical literacy. And in high school, I was a part of we had a little doo-wop group, 3 female singers. We did the Supremes. And so I was always interested in popular music. So when I left here, in undergraduate college, a piano major, I had a band. So there I did instrumentalists. I was able to put together a band. It's called Peaches and Cream. And then from there, that was for 4 years, and we played proms, and we played fraternity, sorority parties. I was in the state of Kansas, so throughout Kansas. And then from there, my interests remained. And I remember, this goes back to culture and having a sense of who you are and what's important, regardless what other cultures you may engage. All black people are bicultural. We have to be. We grew up within European traditions and all of that, but we have our own traditions. So some of us choose to continue practicing our own traditions. Some choose to go different directions. But nevertheless, I chose to maintain my own identity. That was really one interesting thing about growing up in a segregated community. You become very aware of yourself. You gain a lot of confidence and a lot of pride. I noticed at Indiana University when I was recruiting into the graduate program, I taught mainly in the graduate program, and I always recruited African Americans from HBCUs. And they were really interesting. They had the greatest sense of self and confidence. And I noticed the students that came from other schools, African American students like Penn State or Texas, University of Texas, they had less confidence. They were very smart, but had less confidence. And I thought, you know, HBCUs, you have to have that blackness somewhere in your life where you have that confidence. And I got that confidence here in this community. And I went to and I wanted to go to FAMU. That was my first choice. My second choice was Howard. but neither one worked out because I wanted to be a performance major, not music education. So I went on to be a classical pianist, a piano performance. No HBCU at that time had that degree. So I ended up with a scholarship and went to school in Kansas. And so I remember I was the first actually African-American piano major, which I mean I had to perform every month on this recital series. But at the same time, I liked my popular music, and I liked black music, and so I formed this band. And I remember practicing in the teacher, it was at the Catholic school. The nuns would come up and down, listening who's practicing. I'm not Catholic, I never even saw it. They say, some of the students said they never saw a live black person. I said, I never saw a live nun. Or priest, I'm not in priest. Nevertheless, so the nuns would, come down checking who's doing what. And then I remember one day I was learning this piece for the band for our rehearsal. It was the Otis Redding. And she said to me, she came, knocked on the door, walked in, and she said, Portia, with all your talent, I don't know why you waste your time playing that kind of music. And I said, Sister Joachim, that kind of music is the music of my culture, and I'm never going to give it up. Now, one advantage I had in not being Catholic, I did not know Catholic protocol. So it was okay for me to tell the sister, no, I'm not going to do this. This is my culture. And so I was sort of an anomaly. My twin brother, we went to school together, and so we were like anonymous. We weren't Catholic, so we didn't have to adhere to the Catholic rituals and whatever they had to do. So I didn't know them. And I remember the first class I was in, the first day, everybody jumped up. This nun came in, like her name was Sister Madonna. She was really tall, looked like a Madonna. And I didn't know why everybody stood up, so I didn't stand up. And then later, that was school, that's why I should stand up. But anyway, the point is, it didn't matter to me about the environment. I hung on to my culture. That led to my, then in graduate school, when I decided to switch from piano performance. I could have made it, at least they thought I had talent. I won some competitions, but I decided it was too isolating. When I played with different symphonies, one I remember was in Louisville, and the conductor was very, very racist. And I thought, and the audience was very, very white, and I thought, I got too much pride, and I miss my people. And I couldn't see myself being in the practice room 8 hours a day for the rest of my life, going in concert settings with maybe 1.00 of black people. And I say, no, this is too isolating. I'm much more of a social person, so this is not going to work for me. So my teacher was disappointed because she thought I could have, moved on. And
well, you need to tell them about your review, your soul review.
So I'm going to go there. So anyway, that led to my knowing in graduate school in my field of ethnomusicology, which is the study of music as culture. So it doesn't matter what music you study, it's the approach to the study of music. So we're partially cultural anthropologists and musicologists in terms of the analysis of music. So we study music as culture. So I'm a mixture of cultural anthropology and musicology. So in my field, you choose an area. It could be at the time when I entered the field, a lot of people were doing Indonesian music, African music, everything except Black American music. I said I wanted to do Black American music, bring academic legitimacy to this tradition, and that's what I chose. Folks thought I was nuts. Where are you going to get a job? Who da-da-da? I'm at University of Wisconsin now, in Madison. And I remember, all right. And I remember going into my final year, I had more job offers than all my musicologist friends had, me with my black music focus. The point here is convictions. It doesn't matter if it's in vogue. My older brother, who actually was on the faculty of medical school there, and he said to me, I said, well, Junior, I called him Junior. He's named after my father. But anyway, I said, well, they don't really have black. He said, well, it's not about the music. You're doing a discipline. So you be the first. So he was always pushing me, follow your dream. Don't worry about let it work itself out. You become the expert because you're going to be the first one to do it. And he was right. So my point is, I then ventured off in this area when it wasn't popular at the time, but once I got into it, he was right. I became the expert, the field caught up with me. Then everybody now does black music. I don't care what music area you may be in, they're going to do it. So that's what led me to this, that I wanted to bring an academic legitimacy to this field, to our culture. And I wanted to talk about it through the lens of black people as our everyday experience, rather than through the lens of a record. In other words, black music as a lived experience versus black music as a mass-mediated commodity. There's a difference. So much of the writing about black music early, much of our perception of music, whether it's religious, popular, hip-hop, or whatever, was through the lens of a commodity, but not through the lens of the people, what its role is in everyday life of black people. So that's what led to this, and that's what led to my field of study.
Right. Now,
David,
yeah, go ahead.
see, when you hear Portia speak, and when you're somebody like me that grew up around her, now, she doesn't talk about certain things, but I'm going to put it out there. She had a group called the IU Soul Review.
Right.
So she comes to town and she brings all these kids,
43.
43 of them, she said, brings them all. So we on the lake, we doing everything. All of a sudden, when they began to perform, I said, gee, they can sing. They could dance, they could do everything. Now, last year, I was in Las Vegas. And like David Brewer talks about, I'll ask the devil what his damn name is. It don't matter to me. So I went up to this group, and they were the headline act. I said, where you all from? And they told me where they were from. I said, your name is After 7? And they said, yeah. Now, how many of y'all ever heard of After 7? Okay. You know who created After 7?
Portia Mosby.
Yeah, After 7, I'm sorry, that's where you're going to go, David, and then I'm going to shut up after this. What David was alluding to, at Indiana University, in addition to bringing legitimacy in terms of the scholarship, I was also involved in the performance of it. My beginnings right here in Orlando, Florida, in my little doo-wop Supreme group. And in Indiana, so in undergraduate school, I had a band, the one I referred to. Then in graduate school, when at the University of Wisconsin, I had a group called Portia and the Soul Syndicate, and we played all over. We were very, very popular. Then when at Indiana, when people started calling for in terms of wanting me to come and join the faculty and all, that's why I went to Indiana. I had like 7 offers at the same time, but Indiana had more what I wanted to do. And they were interested in, once he found out, the guy who was recruiting for music, that I had a background in popular music performance, that's what he was interested in as well. And so at Indiana University, he said, we have all these black students. I should say this, another mentor. He was an African-American vice chancellor of the university. He was legally blind, taught at FAMU, then at University of Puerto Rico. He was a linguist. Very interesting guy. So one of his jobs was to help different departments recruit African-Americans, and at that time, that was the focus of faculty. I was among the first wave of black faculty in universities. So, but his interest was, he saw black students doing their own talent shows, and he saw all this talent on campus as dancers, spoken word, artists, singers, instrumentalists. And once he realized that I had a background in music in addition to the degree, the PhD degree, because he wanted a tenure track, not someone who would be adjunct and could be disposed of any time. And with that, he says, I want you to develop this same kind of ensemble. He saw my ensemble at Indiana University, but I wanted to be within the school within African American Studies, which was very interesting. He was beginning African American Studies. I was being recruited for the School of Music. And once I realized I had a choice, so this goes back to your own identity crisis, whatever it may be, your sense of your identity. So once I figured out that I had the choice that I could either join the School of Music faculty, which was very prestigious, everybody knows Indiana University School of Music. I could also be in African American Studies, and just founding a department. I thought, going back to building bridges, I want to be where the black people are, and I want to help build a black institution. So I ended up I had a split appointment, music and African American studies, but I had a choice where to be housed. I chose to be housed in Afro studies because I wanted to be with black people and help build an institution.
Right, and Portia is now the lead consultant for the new National Museum of African American Music, which will open up in Nashville next year.
56,000 square feet.
And so, speaking of that, we're going to, as we say, we have one of the top choirs in the nation because our choir is now performing at Carnegie Hall. It's coming this weekend for the second time in 2 years. They're going to be performing at that museum. So I guess I want to make a point here. What you see up on there, I'm just going to, I don't want to talk too much about myself, but one of the things when I joined the Navy back in 1970, as the first naval officer, see, the Navy didn't think that HBCUs could produce naval officers. And so there were 13 of us when we graduated, which, a little irony in history, the first group of black officers was 1944. They called them the Golden 13. Now think about that, from 1944 to 1970. When we joined in 1970, there were 276 black officers in the Navy out of 72,000. Let me say that again. 276 out of 72,000. There were 5 black captains, which is the same as colonel. There were no admirals at all. In my class, 3 went Marine Corps, 3 went Navy. Of the 10 Navy, 8 remained on active duty for 20 years or more. And 6 of us. Prairie View now has the most African American admirals than anybody except the Naval Academy. And so much for that experiment. So I guess the whole point of this is this, that why did that happen? The same thing that happened here, that you see here. And the same thing that Portia alluded to, that coming out of this environment where we were connected, where we had strong parents, we had strong teachers. Our teachers were like our parents, to be honest with you. My mother, who worked for Dr. Janice Choice, my classmate, she brought her out of retirement. My mother taught for 40-some odd years. My mother, God bless her, hopefully will be 100 years old March 6th. Tells this story. When Janice then brought her out of retirement, there was a little girl got in her face. And back in the day, you didn't get in a black teacher's face. Yeah, big mistake. And so my mother knew the new rules. She pulled out a ruler. She said, I better not do this. Anyway, she told this little girl, she said, if you don't get out of my face, I'm going to take you and throw you through that blackboard and pay for it. Now, you sit your butt down. No more problems out of that class. Because they knew that this little 5'1" woman didn't play. But the bottom line, it was that kind of discipline and focus. Anybody rules you. I remember I was messing up at Jones High one day. By the time I got Miss Rogers popped out to the boy, I heard about you in class. Boy, you going to get it when you get home. So, that was sort of it. So let's come to now. I'm the chair of the Project Success Program for the 100 Black Men. And we're dealing with kids now who did not have that. So when you think about the doctor's kids, the lawyer's kids, the teacher's kids went to school with the janitor, the unemployed, and everybody else. We have a lot of success that came out of public housing. Dr. Charles West, who's a classmate of mine, left Jones High School after 11th grade, went to Morehouse. He's now one of the only PhDs in his field of business. We had a lot of that. And Ron can tell you about his classmate, Dr. Sylvester James Gates, one of the top 5 physicists in the world, won the 2013 Presidential Medal of Science from President Obama. How did that happen? Okay? Now, we like to brag as Jones High. I mean, some of that is very true. It is Jones High. But why? I aced physics twice in college at Prairie View. I didn't ace it at Howard. That's another story. Is the bar still open? Good. We're going to talk about that later. But I aced physics twice. Same guy that taught Gates taught us. Freeman Coney, one of the best physics high school teachers in the country. Leslie Brayboy Weaver, music teacher, taught Portia. That's why Portia's all that now. She got mad. Now, you can't do this now. She got mad at us one day and said, y'all don't read enough. She shut down choir rehearsal and broke out the New York Times crossword puzzle and worked it in class. I still can't work the New York Times crossword puzzle. Brilliant woman. We were surrounded by brilliance. We were surrounded by discipline and focus. So when you look at now, what we're trying to do is go back and give that to our children. We're trying to build those ladders now. Because let me tell you, it's some stark poverty out here. 4 high schools in Orange County are Title I. There are 61,000 Title I free and reduced lunch kids in Orlando. When I was superintendent of schools in LA, 700,000 kids, 500,000 of them were poor. And, you know, we've got a lot to do as a nation, to be honest with you. We need a lot of ladder builders in this nation. We need people supporting, and I'm not just saying this because it's necessary, we need people supporting the 100 Black men of Greater Orlando. We need people supporting supportjoneshigh.com. Remember that, supportjoneshigh.com. But we need help also with Orange County Foundation. We need help in every neighborhood. Because one of the things that has happened is that, and God bless everybody up here, guess where we stay? We went back to our neighborhoods. Okay? We didn't go to Islesworth. We didn't go out there. Belvin can go out there. He can afford to live out there. But but Belvin is where? He's right there on Piedmont, in the neighborhood. I'm right there on Monte Carlo. Portia just is rebuilding her house right there. We're on Monte Carlo. Why? Because I'm out there running. I like to run. Everybody knows I got a little fitness in me. I'm out there running. I see the kids up and I speak to them and I hug them and I say, hey, how you doing? That's what it's going to take. You know, people talk about, we talk about crime, we talk about all that stuff. It's going to take us coming back to our communities and resurrecting them. Anybody wants to know what that formula is, I can tell you. It's early childhood education. It starts there. And then from there, you go to boys and girls and YMCAs because you got to take care of the kids from 3 to 6 because that's when they get in gangs and get pregnant and everything else. Okay? And then you got to make sure that they graduate from college. The number one reason why black kids don't graduate from college is what? Money. That's 1.5 million right there. Our graduation rate is 85%. National average is 60. National average for African American kids is 42, Hispanics 49, whites 60, Asians 69. We beating Asians. Why? Because we're in there working with them. That's what you got to do. That's why we're successful. We went back and got what made us successful, and we're paying it forward.
David.
Paying it forward.
David. Let me say this. We had people in front of us. Example. We had a strong economic business community here while we were growing up, too. We had Mr. Charles Hawkins, who had Washington Shores Federal Savings and Loan. We had Dr. James R. Smith. And how many of y'all know where, well, I know most of you don't know anything about Dr. Smith. You know what's called frontline outreach now? That was not frontline outreach. When we were coming along, it was called Roosevelt Lanes, the bowling alley. And all of the black businesses here in the community sponsored teams to bowl. Then when it closed, Dr. Smith got control of it, raised the money, $300 and some thousand way back there, and created Washington Shores Association for Recreation. But between Mr. Perkins, Attorney Paul C. Perkins, Charles Hawkins, Sr., Little Charles was here tonight.
Where is Charles? Is he still here?
Yeah, Little Charles was here tonight. But
he grew up in the neighborhood also.
Yeah, but Mr. Perkins, Dr. Smith. Now, Dr. Smith's home is still, Perkins and Smith home is still right there on John Young Parkway. So when you ride by, you see a tennis court that just sits there. Those of you who've been here know that that tennis court's there. But that tennis court was not there just for their family, but that tennis court was there for anybody, whether you lived in a housing project or whatever. But I tell you, where John Young comes through, because African Americans could not go to the golf course to play golf, they built a par 3 right there in their front yard. Now that is amazing. And we had economics, we had black businesses, we had what's called the Mr. Z.L. Riley, had the Negro Chamber of Commerce there. So we were very, very strong. We were very, very motivated to do things. So I had the pleasure of being on Orange Center one day, and Mr. Hawkins introduced me to this guy, and he said, if you're going to go to school in Atlanta, this is who you need to meet. So I met the guy. I didn't think anything about it. So he gave me his card, and he said, when you get to Atlanta, you know, check this place out. Turns out the guy was a guy named Herman J. Russell, H.J. Russell. Now, you talking about a strong brother. But needless to say, ladder builders, as David has pointed out, it's much better to be a ladder builder than a ladder climber, because the more you build, you're providing a way for someone else. Now, I got to go home tonight. I tell you, David talked about my sister and my niece, but I got another sister, Deborah Rogers, and Deborah was behind me, but she finished FAMU, and she got an MBA from Rollins, and I just wanted to say hello to her tonight. She's sitting there. The other thing is, how many of y'all ever heard of Eatonville, Florida? Okay. Now, Eatonville is the oldest incorporated African-American municipality in the United States. Would you believe that in 1980, we didn't have streets? There were no streets in the town of Eatonville. It was all dirt. In the water, right. So, you know, I was, at that time, I didn't have, put it to you like this, I didn't have any better sense than to forge ahead and say, we got to get streets. So we got streets in the town now.
Okay, we got to wrap it up. I got the sign from Gigi. Any final words from you, Belvin?
The only thing I want to say is this. We have a choice. Do we want to be ladder climbers, or do we want to build? And if we build, if we build, our community will not only survive, but it will thrive. So the choice that we have to make here today, do you want to be a builder of that ladder for future generations?
Amen. Thank you.
Can we give them one more round of applause? The reality is that there's decades more of stories that could be told, and David was saying, is the bar still open? Let me tell you something. If you have the pleasure and the honor of being able to sit down with them over lunch at Oli's or over a drink, I mean, it's just phenomenal to listen to the authentic community and experiences that took place when people look out for each other. That's the reality. The basis of the ladder builder is that they're looking out for each other. And that's something that we all believe that in our society we've lost. It's something that this event strives to do, to achieve, is to make sure that we're still connecting so that we can support each other and make sure that we build each other up. Who was I telling just probably about an hour ago? Let me fix your crown. You know, women, let's fix each other's crowns. because we're all queens and we need to not take people down, but help lift them up. So I'm going to bring up our sponsors. Before our closing remarks, I'm going to bring up our sponsors to say a few words. We're going to cue a small video that we thought was really apropos for tonight's event before they give their remarks. So I think we're good to go. If you guys will just watch your screens, we're going to hit OK here and play there and boom. Where's our volume? Let's see if we get it. Yep. Ooh, technical difficulties. I love that. Okay, let's see. Sounds. Give us 2 seconds. And if we can't, what we're going to do is tell the story behind the story. So as we watch the video, it is a video that is voiced by, who's my girl? Angela Bassett. Goodness, at 60, she looks fabulous. Can I be like that? Hello, Black Don't Crack. And it's called an ode to builders. So it was extremely appropriate for the message that we were delivering tonight because it is about that community. It is about the strength in numbers. One thing I've said here in Orlando is that the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has done an amazing job of unifying their community and their economic power. We have that same power here in this room with the ladder builders that are here, with the legacy that has been created for us to continue to follow so that we can have that same economic power, that same economic voice. So let's make sure that as we continue to go through 2020's vision, that new decade of vision, that we're all looking for ways that we can build and strengthen that economic power and that economic vote. You know, 2020, we all need to make sure we get out and vote. We got volume? Thank you, DJ Todd Love. I know you guys have enjoyed him tonight. We appreciate you playing the old school music, giving us that vibe. You can see the visuals. The visuals are family. The visuals are community. We got it. It's powerful, and it's only 30 seconds, but it's worth seeing.
We build with purpose, with pride, because we build for the builders. The always-on builders, the never-back-down builders, the crack of dawn builders. We build trucks for them, and we've proudly done just that for over a century. So why stop now? There's so much more to build. Built for the builders. The F-150, built Ford proud.
And on that note, I will bring up Sean Avery and Teresa Campbell to give remarks on behalf of our sponsors.
Good evening. I can't believe that it's over already. I could listen to these folks for hours and hours and hours. I am not a native of Orlando, and neither is Teresa, but we've both been in the community for over 10 years. She's been here 12? And so we learned a lot tonight, so I hope everybody enjoyed the panel, because we surely did. I just want to say, on behalf of Ford Motor Company and the 124 Ford dealers that we represent across the state of Florida, that we're happy to be here. This is our 5th Unity Mixer with Gigi, and they just get better and better and better. I also want to see if we have a surprise, and Teresa's going to talk about that while I figure out how we're going to do the job.
Sure. So while Sean figures out how to do that, one of the hashtags that you'll continue to see is Connect Ford. And about, I would say, 3 years ago, we started asking ourselves, what do we want to represent here in Orlando? What does Connect Ford actually mean? So we put our heads together, and it's literally people connecting people, being the ladder builders that they talked about. And you'll see, if you haven't over the years, that every single event that we sponsor, we're driving the connections. We're driving you to the next organization. We're driving you to the next nonprofit to support. And I think we are ready to drive a special winner to the next event that we are sponsoring, which is Soul Fest. So we learned a lot about music, heard a lot about the history, and we thought it would be appropriate to give away an escape to Soul Fest. So yes, one lucky winner tonight will be given a weekend in the all-new 2024 Escape and VIP passes to Soul Fest on Saturday, March 28th. So it's going to be fabulous. You will arrive in style. And without further ado,
Everybody get their tickets out.
that could have been the winner. But the winner is number 378638. 378638 must be present to win. Hey! Awesome, thank you. I'll meet you over here. Exactly.
What do I need to do?
We'll meet you. But on behalf. Thank you. So like we said. So as Sean said, we're so grateful and so thankful to be here, but we also would be remiss if we didn't take a moment for everybody just to honor and recognize one of the chief ladder builders, Miss Gigi Mormon. And thank you. So I wanted to make sure we did that. I don't know.
No, you're fine.
Absolutely. All right. So.
Thank you, guys. So we're very grateful to Ford for their sponsorship, their partnership. We're grateful to Pepsi for being the founding sponsor 7 years ago. I think if I knew Sean and Teresa 7 years ago, they would have been our founding sponsors. But we definitely want to keep the good times rolling. So if you still have those tickets out, let's keep them out because we have 2 more sets of 4 tickets to the Central Florida Soul Fest. And Ernest Wilson's in the room. He donated those tickets. Ernest, stand up if you're around. If you guys haven't seen in our videos, that concert is coming back. It was the old Funk Fest, but now it's revamped. It's better. It's going to be something that 10 years from now we'll still be celebrating it. And Frankie Beverly and Mays, anytime they perform, I'm there. So I wish I win these 4 tickets. So let me pull another name. Look, I'm just gonna go like this. Oh, thank you. Okay, good. All right, we'll try and get him back in there. Last 3 numbers, 681. Set of 4 tickets. We're gonna do it quick. 681, because we want you guys to get out of here. Kevin Ballinger. See, and I made sure they gave 4 tickets, because you know what I mean? So that's you and Kendra, me and Michelle, that's 4. Okay, we got it. Should I check you? Because you're from Virginia. I don't know. Y'all be doing some shady stuff. Okay, Kevin Ballinger, one of our Unity panelists. Thank you very much, prior panelist. We put him back in there. We've got 1 more set of 4. 4 tickets going to winners number 690. Who we got? Kevin, you weren't very excited. Can we get a little bit more excitement? All right, SunTrust Now Truist in the house, BB&T. I love it. You're very welcome. Thank you, Brittany. I just met you tonight. I'm checking your numbers. You're a banker. I know you know what to see. And these are your 4 tickets. So thank you, guys. We appreciate one of our diversity champions tonight, SunTrust Now Truist, BB&T Now Truist is in the house. So thank you, guys. There's 20 of their members here tonight. We love you guys. We appreciate you. We also have 4 tickets to go to the Heart and Soul Festival. So that's also been on our screens. And that's for the old school lovers. So if you've seen some of the people that are going to be performing there, it's going to be in a Apopka, and it's just going to be fabulous. So we thank Corey Lamar for being out tonight and making sure that we had some tickets to give away. So I'm going to pull a number and see what we got. 727. Who's our winner, 727? Because if y'all don't win, I'll go. Michelle, we going, right? We're going to go see them because we love old school. Old school is powerful. 687. Oh, wait. Well, you know what? We're going to give out 2 sets of tickets. 687. And you guys had your number over there. Corey, is okay? We're going to give 2 sets of tickets out. Corey, wave your hand. It's okay? We got you both. You guys, okay, Kenyetta, I know we're not going to play with you, girl. I know. Because Mom Piola going to come after us, one of our former Unity panelists. She's right there. I love it. Don't play with her. Lady in red, she'll mess with you big time. Okay, so we gave out our door prizes. I want you guys to know that there are silent auction prizes over there that we are going to leave the bidding open. We are raising money for the Bob Billingsley Scholarship Fund, and most people in Orlando know Bob Billingsley as one of our ladder builders. All of you knew him very well. He was amazing, and we're proud to raise some money for him. So if you have not seen that we have a silent auction fundraiser going on, we do have it. There are 2 tickets to the Bahamas. So Bahamas Airs, we thank you for dropping that with us. So we've got 2 tickets for them. We have a Pepsi VIP Orlando Magic package. So basically you're sitting in the seats behind the floor and you go into the lounge for the free food and drink. So come on, y'all, we need to raise some money. And I'm gonna end up buying everything if y'all don't. I'm letting you know right now. If it's going for minimum bid, it's gonna be mine by the end of the night. That's just how that's gonna go. Eddie V's donated a wine gift basket. You get 2 stem glasses, plus you have a $100 gift card. I mean, I love Eddie V, so you know I'm gonna get that one, because shoot, why not? Free wine, free basket, and food. I love it. Orlando City Soccer, Adam is here. Thank you so much, Adam. He donated game tickets so you guys could go and see the Orlando City Soccer play. Or Orlando Pride, go women. We'd love it. We'd love it. All right, what's Arlene telling me? Ooh, okay, we're gonna do that one in a second. We got a special announcement. I want y'all to get a little excited because y'all seem like y'all falling asleep. Central Florida Association of Black Journalists, thank you. You guys donated a limited edition print. There were only 100 that were created for one of their conferences, and so that's being auctioned off. So I want to make sure that you guys see that as well. So make sure that you see that. The other thing we want to do is we want to thank our former Unity panelists that are in the house tonight. So forgive me if I didn't catch everybody, but I think I got enough of you on my list. Annetta Wilson, please take a stand. Carolyn Fennell, please stand up. Kevin Ballinger, Tony Jenkins, Dr. Piola Butler's Dews Jackson. She got like 9 names and she had like 8 husbands. But she said that every black woman ought to own a red dress, and she's wearing her red tonight, Mama. I see you. Pastor Reva Timms, I know she's here with her son, Zion. She had to go home, but we understand she was here. Cecily Wilson is here. Thank you, Cecily. Vernice Atkins Bradley is here. Thank you, Vernice. You know, the constant support. We've had over 50 Unity panelists that have shared their stories with us, similar to what you guys have done tonight. And it's just fabulous. The ladder builders that were called out tonight, we appreciate you, we value you. We want to make sure that you know that we are here to learn from you. And so if you want to share that nuggets of knowledge with us, we're here and we're open to it. Erica Dunlap, Miss America, was here tonight. I thank her for stopping by to give us some love. And if you haven't noticed that there are a couple of high school seniors in the room, please take a moment to say hello to them. They're from Evans High School, the Future Leaders United. Sandra does such a great job with them, and her husband, Dennis. We want to make sure that you guys feed into our next generation, because if we don't do it, who will? To the same point that 100 Black Men is doing at Jones High School, we need to expand that and do that more often. Then we have our college kids in the house as well. So we've got some UCF kids in the house, and my daughter Taylor, look at her. She knew I was gonna say her name. So UCF Go Knights are represented. Her boyfriend Raph is here from Rollins. We've got some kids from Valencia. I see you, Lisa, don't play. I see you. We've got Karen from UCF. We have graduates that are in the house. Maliha and Elijah were helping me tonight. They are graduates that need jobs. So if you see any of our kids that have a college thing, talk to them, offer them a job, because that's what's going to help them get to that next level so that they can bring somebody up behind them. Okay, who else did I say? I said SunTrust. I want to mention BNY Mellon. They had 8 employees come out tonight for their diversity and inclusion event, so thank you, Ivy Jones. And I know that the people from Charter are here channel. So if you guys have not received my email blast, next Friday, I believe, is the launch party, and there are some flyers at the front. So we have a Black News channel that just launched on major cable programs. Make sure that we're supporting them, because if we don't and they come out, then we won't have any more come out, right? Agreed. Okay, good. So I did my job. Ford has a special announcement. I want to thank Arlene Blake, if you guys don't know her. She has the name of the company. Tell me again, because I'm Just Started LLC. Listen, you got to just start it. It's 2020, but Women on the Rise has their Women's Expo next, the end of this month, 29th. On the 29th, also sponsored by Ford. It is an amazing day of empowerment, and she and I are going to collaborate again for our 3rd annual Women's Unity History Month, and Pepsi and Ford have always partnered with us with that, and it's like this. It's make sure we share the information, make sure we're learning, developing. I soak it up. what you guys do, what you've done, what you've achieved, I want to get to that level. I want to have my name on a building like Judge Perry. I want to be able to say I gave away $1.5 million. I want to have a #1 bestseller. I want to be a vice admiral that people have not accomplished, that they dream about accomplishing. Let's make sure that we're using this decade to achieve those goals, rise higher, and take more people with us. Amen? Amen.
Speaking of which, so Sean and I were in the back debating about if we should share an announcement because technically the press release back in Dearborn went out today. So it was, can we share it, can we not? We've got plans to share it at the soccer ball because we're doing this in collaboration with the Orlando City Foundation. But Bill Ford has an internal grant that employees can apply for. So this is my pitch. You are, or where you serve, that there are opportunities that might be come knocking on your door that if you're listening, you can answer them. So Sean and I and some other colleagues said, we want to go after this grant money, and we want it to go back to the community where we live right here in Orlando. So we put together a proposal to basically create a Food for Life project for Evans and Jones High School, and it's been announced officially out of 45.
There were 45 entries globally.
Through Ford, and we won the $100,000 grant. to restore the green and shade houses at both of the high schools so they can have pop-up farmers markets, learn to grow the produce, sell it within the community.
An education program.
A devoted education program, working with the teachers, with Fleet Farming, the Orlando Foundation. So that was announced today, so I don't think there's any mistakes. So wherever you are, if you hear the knock on the door and you want to be a steward, listen and apply and do what you can where you are. So that's our commitment. Like Sean and I said over the years that we've been supporting the community, we really are serious about connecting Ford and being ladder builders like everyone you see here today. So that's the news.
I love it. That's awesome. That's how we do in 2020. What? All because I met Oprah this year. That's how it goes. Anyway. Special thank you, one last thing, our Unity partners that handled the expo tonight. If you guys are still sitting here, please stand up. We have representatives from 18 different nonprofit organizations that were invited here at no cost to make sure that they were meeting new members, that they were meeting new partners, and that they were sharing their missions with everyone locally. And then I know my group, TGI, is in the back, so make sure that you stop by them because summer 2020 is coming up and we need female mentors, we need female job shadowing opportunities, and we need female speakers to come in and talk to our girls. So make sure that you do that. I think that's a wrap. You've got the silent auction product, you still have a bar, you still have some music. We're gonna take some photos. After I take a group photo with these guys, I welcome you all to just come up here and take a picture. You have your group photos and that we're all set. So thank you guys for another great evening. I appreciate you.